is that even though it's going to promise you everything that you want right now, and even though some of you might even be getting a few dollars in your hand right now to vote for somebody, there's a thing in this Constitution of the Oglala Sioux Tribe. This is our agreement between the federal government and the people and the Oglala Sioux Tribe and the people. There's three entities that I put in here: the federal government, the Oglala Sioux Tribe, and the people. Now, if anybody's making you a promise, what they need to be reminded of is that they will raise their hand and they will give an oath to their office. That's my oath. They give an oath to your office. Sorry about that. They'll give an oath to their office, and that oath, if you're a council representative from any district, that oath will give you powers. Powers of the council. They're all in here about up to letter W. And what the powers will allow you to do. So if they're making you promises to give you a house or some other thing, they can't do that. Because now that you've joined that crew of council representatives, it's going to take 19 people to make a decision. 19 people. In that decision making, the only thing that the president can do is break a tie. He can cast a vote in case of a tie. That's it. So you're electing lawmakers to do a job. What you're doing for the president is you're electing the president to execute what the lawmakers told him to do. So if you have presidents telling you that they're promising you things, they too will be taking an oath of office. And their duty is to carry out what's been delegated to them by the council. And they do that by law. So their duty is to find them in the financial management manual, in the procurement manual, in the human resources manual. So it's all laws. That's what they're there to do. And the vice president will do the same thing. In case the president's absent, then the vice president will step in and do the same thing. Now this isn't very fun to hear for people, because what they want to hear is a lot of grand ideas. Well, those grand ideas, they actually come through the committee process. And what's happened over the years is you've been absolutely disrespected in that process.
Hey, baby.
The proof's in the pudding. We're over $70 million in the hole. $70 million in debt. Some people are speculating $80 million in debt. And the additional disrespect to that is we don't know. And the reason why we don't know is because we can't get into the books to find out for ourselves. So one thing that I'll promise you, because I can, because in the Constitution, we can do these things. I'll promise you that we will publish a deficit report of the Oglala Sioux Tribe. And if I can't get that passed by law, then we'll make sure that I'm on the radio embarrassing all of these council representatives who swore an oath to you, saying, why is it that you don't want these tribal members to hear about the finances of the Oglala Sioux Tribe? We will embarrass them into voting for making sure that you get to have a deficit report of the Oglala Sioux Tribe, how the money's being spent. I'd like to see that done on a weekly basis, so that every week you can see a running total. This is how much money we earn debt as a tribe. What I'd like to do on a monthly basis is to have the Oglala Sioux Tribe give you a revenue report. How much money is the tribe bringing in? We want to stick it in your mind how much we're in the hole. But we also want to see that there's some money coming in so that we can make an adjustment. For us to be healthy and for us to do things as a tribe, we have to pay our debts. That's how it works. You know it as well as I do that you're having an upset household is if your lights all of a sudden get turned off, if your gas gets turned off, or if HUD comes in and says, yeah, no, because you're not paying rent, or you don't have gas to get to the hospital. That's how the Oglala Sioux Tribe works. It's just like a house. We have to pay the bills. We're not able to pay the bills because we don't know how far in debt we are over things. I'll tell you what's happened here. This shocking loan that we got for $38 million, my sister's going to talk about it. For $38 million, one thing that they've done is they've extended the terms of that loan. And so if they extend the terms of that loan, it means they're going to pay more money into it. People didn't want that loan to begin with. And now they're having to pay more onto it because they're taking that money from the loan and they're paying off that government. They're paying off that government. We don't know how many of these people got a fairly large check while you're sitting out there and you can't pay your light bill. So one of the things that I can promise you, under the Constitution of the Joa So tribe and the oath that I was taking, what I can promise you is a transparent government. I want to make sure that if you guys have any questions about that building over there, you're going to get an answer. You're not going to get, oh, you're just a traffic member, straight off the chute. You got to remember that those people over there, and the council representative, and the president, and the executive committee work for you. That's how it works. That's what this document says.
Better go get in line.
For some reason, everybody forgets.
Huh?
Once they get elected in the office, all of a sudden they don't have any meetings for you.
Oh, okay, well go get in line over there.
Think about it. Pine Ridge District is the largest district population.
Behind here. Okay.
How many meetings do you get?
I said when I put it back here, and there's my fix for you up there.
One thing that I can promise you, because it's in the Joa So tribe constitution here that
Don't be shy,
I can promise you that I will have a monthly meeting. I can promise you that I will be in this building or in the cap office building on one day a month, maybe two, and we will have a meeting about what's going on in the Joa So tribe. I will answer the questions that you have for me the best that I can, and if I can't answer them, then I'll bring the answer to you later. But I can promise that. So I'm promising several things. I want a deficit report, I want a revenue report, I want to make sure that that building over there responds to you because you're the most important person to them. And I want to have monthly meetings with you because you are going to be the most important person to me. That's how it works. That's how it works. Why isn't it working that way? Why is it that we're sitting here finding out, unless you already knew that we're over $7 million in the hole? Why is it that we're going to find out one of these days, if we can get our hands on the finances, that our tribal council has traveled up to $2 million worth while you're sitting here wondering if you can get a job to pay your light bill and your gas bill and everything else? Why is it that they're not giving themselves permission to travel to important meetings? It used to be back in the day, about 30 years ago, you'd see a motion in the tribal council minutes authorizing one or two people to go to a meeting, to sit there and make a decision and then come back and tell everybody else. Now everybody has a tribal line item and they just pick up and they say, I want to travel, boom, they're gone. 6, 7, 8, 9 council representatives at a time to the same meeting. And the thing is, you never get a single report back to the committee, an official record, that you can go down to the secretary of the Joa So tribe and say, I'd like to see the minutes for the Law and Order Committee to find out what they were doing around the city. Because there's none. That's a crime against you. Because these committees, when they meet and they adjourn and they have a quorum, they are supposed to take the lawful record.
They're just making them put, giving them up. It saves you one though.
To see what they did.
Pouting around.
To see how the money was spent. To see how the money's intended to be spent.
The one back here.
No, my mom.
Folks, it doesn't sound very sexy to say that a president or vice president has a lot of authority. It doesn't sound very sexy to say that the tribal council has all the authority. But that's how it is. That's how it works right here. And part of that purpose is that the tribal council has all of that authority and they're representing 9 districts. You should be meeting with your council representatives so that they can hear you how you want tribal government to run. That's a representative government. That's what I can promise you that I will give you. I will give you transparency, I'll give you representative government, I'll include you in the decision making. And by the way, I just don't want to leave the presidents and the vice presidents hanging. If they want something done, the lawful process is that they come to the committee. The committee should have a hearing, and then the representatives go into the committee and say, what do you think of this? And get your input. Otherwise, you need to listen to this, otherwise, you're going to get more of the same. You're going to get more of that $70 million in debt that we don't know anything about because we can't get into the books.
Run that for a little bit.
That's your money. That's your money. And I want to change that. I want to change it so that if Bruce Whalen as a candidate wastes $100,000 of your money, you all know about it. So that you can punish me at the next election cycle and say, you're out. That's how it's supposed to work. The only reason why we have elections is to serve a consequence on the person that you voted for. And if they're doing good, you can give them another 2 years. If they're not doing good, get rid of them. And it's a crying shame that some of these council representatives keep coming back and asking you. They might say, I've been in office for 2 years already and I know what's going on. Well, when I hear that, the first thing that I say is $70 million in the hole. And while you was in office, you never told us why. Do you want more of that? That's the question. Are you going to vote for somebody that was already a council representative who's going to come up and ask you for a vote? The first thing you should say is, where was that $70 million spent? And if they can't tell you, you should tell them no. You should tell them no, because this is your money. This is your government. This is your government. Sovereign people need to understand that this is their government. Here's the contract right here. It's called the Oklahoma Sioux Tribe. You need to realize that in this Constitution, you gave over a certain amount of powers. Actually, our ancestors did, our grandpas and grandmas. We gave over a certain amount of powers, but if it's not written in here, everything else is yours. Everything else is yours. And we need to start thinking like sovereign people. An individual has the ability to do the things that they need to because that's called liberty. One of the things under liberty is that you get a vote. Let me tell you an example of tribal government gone bad. Back in 2010, your tribal government crafted an election code. They did that when he was in Rapid City, in Mario Gonzalez's office. Nobody was there. I know, because I was there. And I watched that a lot of people didn't show up to these meetings. So they had the finance committee coordinator come in and he says, this is what they want. Mario actually argued against some of that stuff. He said, it doesn't sound right. But he didn't have council representatives to tell that to him. That's how it worked. And these people were paid money to go to Rapid City to sit in these meetings and make these decisions. By the way, they shouldn't have went to Rapid to begin with. They should have had their meetings right here in the council chambers where it's free. But they decided to go up to Rapid City. And one of the reasons why is because they were having to put and one of the council representative in charge wanted to go play pool. That's where he was. That's where they found him. Okay, so what happened in the selection code? What happened in the selection code? They built in prices. You had to get a hair follicle test. You had to get a background check. You had to do other things. And everybody sitting here right now that's going to speak to you today paid at least $150 to run for tribal council. I can tell you that there was 4 or 5 people that came up to me and they took out a petition for tribal council. Good people. Good people. They took out a petition for tribal council and they came up to me and says, I can't afford this $150. And I said, hey, no, I argued against it back in 2010. 2011, 2012, I argued against it as a coordinator. I'm not a boss. I'm not a council representative. I argued against it as a worker of the Oklahoma Sioux Tribe, saying that we were violating the rights of these people. $150, so he says, I can't afford that. They put the petition in, they didn't run. They were good people. You know what they call that down in the South? Poll tax. The white people down in the South, they charge black people and poor whites to vote. That was during the Civil Rights Movement. That was during the 1900s, 1920s, 20s, 30s. It led up to the 1964 Civil Rights Movement, where they passed a law saying, make sure you don't do this anymore, it's against federal law and violates human rights. How is it that the WHALEN tribe didn't learn from that to our council representatives from 2 years ago turn around and says, we're going to charge you, we're going to treat you like poor, dirty, black people. That's what they did. That's what they did. And a whole bunch of their laws are doing the same thing that we don't know about. Not how they slap you upside the head. You need better representation than that. I promise you, because I can't. You're hearing all the laws you try, we're going to take an oath of office. I promise you to give you better representation than hurting you. The way the white Southerners hurt the blacks. How is it that our overall Sioux tribe is hurting our tribal members the same way? It's astounding. If you haven't heard my message, I'm trying to tell you. I want to make that tribal building transparent. I want you to know how much money is being spent, where it's being spent, how much revenue we're bringing in. I want you to know the laws. I want you to know that you have a council representative that will meet with you no matter what. The CAF office doesn't have to have a meeting for me to meet with you. I will meet with you because you're electing me as the council representative. I will meet with you on my own no matter what, once a month. Sister's giving me the peace sign. These are the things that I'm asking folks. Do you want to be involved with your own quality of life? If you do, then I'm asking for your vote because I can help you. I won't do it for you. I can help you. I can be the voice that you need in tribal governments so that your rights are being trampled on. And we don't need to depend on other people. Okay, so we talked a little bit about tribal council, we talked a little bit about president, district governments. Your district governments, they have the right to consult. Tribal council has the right to negotiate. We need to empower district governments to do more than consulting. We need to empower district governments to actually know what they're working with. One of the things that I know as a person that was trying to start a business in Pine Ridge District is that I couldn't get myself a little piece of land so I can put my building on. Because of our laws. Because our lawmakers weren't doing these things to help us start a business. And I realized several years later that I'm not an entrepreneur, and I felt bad about myself. And I thought, well, you know what's really the problem? So I investigated it, and I found out it's our laws. And what will happen is my sister will tell you about this. My sister wrote a business plan, and she took it into tribal council. One committee gave her 25 seconds. The other committee took her plan and said, it's no good. Run it down to the districts where it was going to die. And guess what? They peeled off 8 pieces of her business plan and they used it for themselves. That's a corrupt committee. That's a corrupt way of doing business. People don't like to do business here. So what we need to do is make sure that we have the opportunity to draft the laws that everybody understands so that they can come in and start a business and flourish. With that, I've been given the time's up. Give me the opportunity, folks. Talk to your friends. If you're not from Pine Ridge District and you know people in Pine Ridge District, talk to your friends. Have them vote for Bruce WHALEN. My brother's on the ballot too. So please don't get confused. Look for Bruce WHALEN, the handsome one. That's what you call it, the handsome one. And give me your vote. And you know, I'll make you this promise to conclude. If I don't get elected, I'm gonna be crushed because I'm bearing my soul to you. But if I don't get elected, it doesn't mean that I'm gonna leave my community. I'll still be here. I'll still be here. And some of the people in the room, in this room right here, know that we were already forcing these guys to meet and get your opinion. So I've got a track record to make sure that that happens. And I want to do more of that. Appreciate it. Welcome, Bruce.